Good morning to you. Welcome along to OTB AM, and it is Thursday morning. There are 2 more days left in the week, and then the weekend comes, and with it brings another brilliant weekend of sport. However, there was a reasonable night last night where Sadio Mane scored one of the goals of the season.
Yeah, one of the finishes of the season. Goals of the season. Like, everything about it has to be encapsulated into that.
No.
The reason why the finish is so brilliant is because the touch is so bad.
Why are you splitting hairs so?
Because it's a terrible first touch.
Ah, you're such an asshole.
But
I can't believe
it's a phenomenal finish.
One of the greatest things you're going to see in sport.
It's
magic.
Not
good enough. I'm
magic.
Sorry, the bit before it is useless.
Half of it is brilliant because
when did your soul die?
He recovers so well.
What was the precise moment that your soul died?
Well, as I say in South Park, gingers don't have souls, so I never had one in the first place.
Jesus.
It's a brilliant goal.
Yes.
It's a brilliant goal. It probably is.
It's a get out of your seat moment.
Yes.
Irrespective, sorry, if you haven't seen it, because I didn't see it live last night, if you haven't seen it, stop what you're doing, keep us on in the background, and go and have a look. We'll tweet a link. Will we?
So it's an out of your seat moment, because you're out of your seat and you're like, the ball's in the box, one of our attackers is there, and then you're back down your seat. It's like, oh, he's miscontrolled it. He's a professional footballer, and the ball can't even stick to his foot. And then it's like, oh wait, I'm out of my seat again because he's after recovering from that situation. So it depends whether you're a positive person or a negative person.
Yeah, well, I guess we've just established what you are. It's the debate is over.
There has to be that's why, like, when we were talking a couple of weeks ago about the 20th anniversary of that brilliant Ryan Giggs goal in '99. Like, the brilliance of that goal was the entire movements. It's not just about the finish. You can't just judge a goal in isolation of the final touch. It has to be the entire thing. And
the brilliance of that goal is because of the context of the season. They're down to 10 men. Dennis Bergkamp has missed a penalty. Peter Schmeichel saves it. It's an FA Cup semi-final against their greatest rivals.
And the context is also that he runs from like
in the midst of the
miles
treble.
away.
They don't do the treble if he doesn't do that. That's all very important. And that's like a goal that will last the ages, right? I don't know if Sadio Mane's goal is going to last the ages, but it's amazing.
It's a very good goal. Like, I'm not saying it's a bad goal. I'm just saying
Put the stink on it now, Owen.
I'm just saying that it comes with a little asterisk that he's a professional footballer who didn't manage to make the ball stick to his feet. No
asterisk. I think it's actually the perfect encapsulation of who Sadio Mane is. He has within him the ability to miss a sitter. If he was through one-on-one in the same situation, I'm not sure he'd be able to score. But because of the enhanced level of difficulty, all of a sudden he's actually more likely to score, and he does.
Fair point.
So whatever happens now, Liverpool have managed to establish that they are a team and they're going to be around for the next couple of seasons. You hope that they can keep this group of players together. And this is a proper title race, because when we were talking about them choking, they bounced back and they put in one of their best performances of the season, one of their best results, a 5-0 home win, closed the difference in the goal difference, and put a bit of pressure on Man City, who were apparently not very good last night. We're going to talk to Nathan a little bit later on. He was at the game. He was stalking one of the West Ham players, but I'm not sure it came to anything in the end.
What do you call that? That pendulum thing where you have like the 5 balls and you pull one at the side and then the one goes at the other end and it just doesn't stop. That's what this Premier League title race kind of feels like. It's like, when will the pendulum stop swinging in terms of who's got the upper hand here? Because after last night, if you're judging it just on the isolation of those 2 performances last night, you say Liverpool are back in front again in terms of who's got Big Mo. Like, when it comes to the 28th of February, I can't remember being into a Premier League season as much.
No.
It's petered out so many times. But the Leicester season was phenomenal because it was Leicester who was leading the way and you always thought they might slip. But I think, really, looking at this and now looking at the top 4 race even as a secondary thing, it's going to be a fantastic conclusion to the Premier League season.
One of the big questions that was asked on the show last night is where would Celtic finish? Kevin Kilbane had this answer: in the Premier League, obviously. If they were in the Premier League, where would Celtic finish?
Where would Celtic finish in the Premier League? Celtic in the Premier League right now, I think they'd be bottom 3 right now.
Would they?
Yeah, I think they would now.
And outside said they'd be 7th or something.
No,
there's no chance they're
no
7th.
chance.
No, that squad.
No,
Good
not
God,
the squad,
no.
no.
Try to tell him.
No.
I mean, like, what are the circumstances under which they get there? Is it with the current manager and squad with the same budget, or because they're in the Premier League, do they suddenly have the same budget as West Ham and Watford? And, can they suddenly start paying players properly?
Well, I love the way Joe says, I knew it, when like an opinion is kind of taken directly as fact there. I do kind of come down on that side of things as well, though, that it would be a struggle, that they would kind of...
Do they get straight in, or do they have to go into the Championship and get promoted? So are they bouncing through after a season of... And do they have the 60 million annual budget that everybody else has?
See, that is the question.
And so yes is the answer, they do, because they're in the Premier League, so they get the money.
Yeah, you're taking I think the question is, you're taking the current squad and you're dropping them into the start of this year's season with no more transfers allowed.
And which manager?
Brendan,
Neil Lennon.
But let's say even if you give them Brendan Rodgers, like I think the glass half full Celtic fan would say they're kind of a Leicester City, and the glass half empty fan would say they're more of a Southampton.
The glass half full fan says nothing of the sort. Oh, and wash your mouth out with green and white striped soap. You traded immortality for mediocrity. Never a Celt, always a fraud. Is the banner that was unfolded by that coterie of Celtic fans who think that now, after all the success that Brendan Rodgers brought them, he was always a fraud. I mean, come on. Like, this is the creepy ex-boyfriend territory.
He didn't do bad for a fraud, did he? Didn't do bad for someone who, like, an unbeaten season, a fraudulent unbeaten season. Is that what we're calling it now, from Brendan Rodgers' perspective? Like, I think that's fairly unappreciative from the Celtic fans there, isn't it? It's fairly clear that it was a better personal decision for Brendan Rodgers to go to Leicester City. Like, is he going to achieve as much when it comes to trophies and winning things with Leicester City? No. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's not a bigger job. So I think bad move. I disagree with pretty much all those Celtic fans there saying that Brendan Rodgers is a fraud. It's
Thursday morning. That means we've got the shot clock with Kieran Donaghy coming your way a little bit later on. One of the things that came up for discussion was the Kerry Tommy Walsh. And, Kieran Donaghy's a fan. Have a look.
Great player, huge size. He's in serious shape, physically wise. He had it tough the last 8 stages, but came out, won 3 big massive kickouts. We got 3 points off them, showed massive leadership. Tommy left in 2009 as a youngster who I was looking after my first 2 years. He was in the corner next to me. He was my brother's best friend. I was kind of arm around him, always minding him. And he went to Australia and he came back to us in 2015. And straight away inside in the dressing room, the way he spoke, the way he looked everybody in the eye, like he just changed from this kind of young fella to this serious man who was a serious leader in that team in 15. And it didn't work out for him that time, and it might have been a bit too soon. He found his form with his club really very much so last year. Back in with Kerry, and absolutely, he could be a serious weapon for Kerry come the summer.
Yeah, so good stuff from Kieran Donaghy on the shot clock, which is coming your way at around about 20 minutes time. Well, there's something's going on. Somebody's in the studio. Can we have a wide shot, please? Who's that? Whose body's that? Good morning, Tommy. There's a bit of stealth going on in the background. The producer can't work the TV. He's going to have to ring his younger brother and go, "Hey, can you make the remote control work for me, please?"
Don't go to widescreen.
All right. We also have an interview coming up with Leo Cullen a little bit later on. Owen was out and met him yesterday. They were obviously launching a gala dinner for the 10th anniversary of the 2009 European Cup victory. So when is Rocky Elton coming back?
Good question.
I wonder. That would be, it's going to be interesting to see if Rocky makes it back. Anyway, here he is on yesterday asking Leo Cullen about the future of Jack McGrath. Have a look.
You're going to have a familiar face coming up against you in Jordy Murphy. I guess the question that's been on everybody's lips today is Jack McGrath going to be one of those familiar faces with him next season?
Good question, yeah. Reality is, there's, for whatever reason, some of the other provinces, I think, are, looking at some of the players that we have here, and so you can argue about the merits of what's right and what's wrong. For us, we were just trying to create a place here that players can be as successful as they possibly can. So in the group environment, but also as individuals. So if they produce the right behaviours, they get picked and hopefully go on and get picked at the highest level as well, whether that's with Ireland or even beyond, with the Lions as well. You mentioned Jack has obviously gone on and done that. So there's always bits going on behind the scenes with the squad, and that's something that we don't tend to air in a public domain, out of respect for all the different people that are involved. But it's something it goes on. I think continue to go on. I think it's a good reflection when we have these questions. I think quite often it's a good reflection on a lot of the good work that goes in the system here in terms of trying to produce players. And for us, that's probably the thing that we can control.
Yeah, it's a tough situation for Leo Cullen. He's basically saying this happens all the time. It doesn't always lead to a deal. So it's just part of the normal conversations.
Yeah, and I think he's just trying to respect the private conversations that are going on at the moment.
So there's a bunch of other people who might be leaving too. Is that what he's saying?
Well, if you want to take it that way, for sure. Like it's one of those situations that we read in the Irish Independent yesterday was very much in motion, and it seems like it depends how much you want to read between the lines here that Jack McGrath may be interested in leaving, that Leinster may want to keep him, but then again, Jack McGrath probably wants to there's probably a part of him that wants to stay at Leinster, that he's probably kind of considering the whole suite of options that he has at his disposal. Now, like, we don't know what's going on really behind the scenes here, but is there a situation where he's unhappy with his minutes, for example, this season? Is there a situation where he just wants to get on the pitch and just play week in, week out in the biggest European games that are going to be there for Ulster next year? Perhaps that's the case, and maybe he just feels that Cian Healy now has that jersey locked down at the moment, and that's not going to be an option for him at Leinster. As I say, that's just my view on this. Like Leo Cullen there yesterday, kind of respecting the privacy of the whole situation, so not giving too much away.
Yeah, all right. Let's move on to the sports pages. We've told you what's coming up already. We're going to hear that interview in full with Leo Cullen. We have the shot clock with Kieran Donaghy, and Nathan is going to join us. He was at the Etihad last night for the Man City West Ham game, and so I'm going to take you through the newspaper headlines this morning first. I'm going to start with the Examiner. Pressure, what pressure? And it's Sadio Mane, the man of the moment. Liverpool hit Hornets for 5, but City stay stride for stride. They kind of stuttered a little bit. There was a bit of a stutter step from Man City last night. They Nathan tweeting about it was saying that they could have won 5-0, but they didn't play well, and they did need a penalty from Aguero to win the game.
Yeah, I think it's a fairly sizable stutter that when you look at the performance that Liverpool put in, it feels a lot more significant than things actually suggested on the pitch last night. That have Liverpool finally got their swagger back is the question, and I think they might have done. I think Mo Salah has sort of personified that, you know, you kind of look at his performance at the weekend, and I know you were saying this as well yesterday, that perhaps, can you actually put him into that bracket as the very, very top end of footballers in the world? And like, would he be taking off Lionel Messi in a critical game in La Liga, for example, when it's at 0-0? Probably not. So there was question marks about Mo Salah, and like, he's showed a lot more energy last night, and like, I think Liverpool in general just a hell of a lot better than they have been. And like, just one quick mention for Trent Alexander-Arnold, whose delivery of the ball is absolutely out of this world. Like, we talk about Sadio Mane's moment of magic last night, but 3 assists from Trent Alexander-Arnold. I think he's one of the youngest players ever in the Premier League to record a hat-trick of assists. An unbelievable performance from him. And let's not forget that a little bit of their stutter last month came from
with that, yeah.
Yeah, it came from when he was out of the team, you know.
Yeah, okay. So there's 2 pages of match reports from the Times at the start of theirs, but this is this piece from Emmett Malone. So yesterday, the new 10-year ticket deals were announced by the FAI, much more reasonable than the ticket deals which were launched at the, I think just before the collapse the last time round, which landed them in so much financial difficulty. But like Delaney, in fairness to him, is coming out and saying we've learned a lot of lessons, and so it seems like there will be decent value in those tickets. That's the background to having Robbie Keane, TC and Mick McCarthy in photographs in most of the newspapers today. McCarthy struggling to recruit new talent is the headline on the Emmett Malone piece, and it's the front page of the Examiner was, there comes a time when if you want to play, pick up the phone, says Mick McCarthy. So is Mick McCarthy, you know, doing the right thing here? Like, he's waiting for Patrick Bamford to ring him, and Patrick, it's at his instigation whether or not he gets to play for Ireland. It's not that he wants to play for Ireland or that he feels Irish or that he is Irish. It's that, like, you know, where will I go for lunch today? Will I have a salad? Will I have a sandwich? These things, it's not really that big a decision in my life, is it? Will I play international football or not? What do you think? Will I play? Should I play? I mean, those weekends where the international games are on, when we're in the Premier League next season, imagine having those off. Imagine being the only striker at Leeds who isn't away, who's like, well, I'm just hanging out with the manager going, yeah, look at that chance he missed playing for whoever they sign.
Going for lunch with Marcelo.
He wasn't very good, was he? Yeah. Having him around to your house, cooking for him, you know. Look at my kids, look. I need to play.
I'm going to stick my neck out here and say Mick McCarthy has never used Tinder, but he's getting ghosted by Patrick Bamford here pretty badly, so he might get a sense of what it's really like out there. It's a fairly demoralising situation for him if he really wants him. if he really wants him in the squad. Like, are we sure that...
ghosted a lot.
Everybody's got ghosted, Ger. It's a kind of an occupational hazard of being a young person these days. But Mick McCarthy
How far along the process do you get ghosted?
Mick McCarthy is figuring out what it's like to get ghosted,
away, like,
which is not a great thing. Well, I guess from Mick McCarthy's perspective, it is kind of a straight away thing. I'm sure the other party involved is aware of the
Come on, we're all living vicariously. Come
on. Not really, no.
So after a few dates, kind of thing.
I haven't used that app in a long time.
But when you were getting ghosted,
it's not a great feeling.
And do you get ghosted straight away, or is it like after a meeting?
No, I would say getting ghosted, you have to have
met and have something has started,
or something would have had to have been said. Like, I'm not sure you actually have to meet. Like, has Mick McCarthy actually met Patrick Bamford?
That's a good question, Eoin. You know, the old hoary truism about not asking a question you don't know the answer to. Remember that bit of advice that, you know? Let's hear what Mick McCarthy had to say when he was talking to Stephen Doyle about this.
Well, there was word that you were looking for the likes of Nathan Redmond, Patrick Bamford, these kind of players. Have you had any news on those two in particular?
Yeah, I've spoken to Nathan Redmond's agent. I've tried to get to meet him. That's never managed that.
What's the problem there?
Well, he got injured. He was out of the team. I think he's having a good season and he's played for England. I wonder if he's still harbouring desires to play there. Maybe. I don't know. I haven't had the conversation with him, so I'm kind of guessing myself. In terms of Patrick Bamford, I've spoken to him. I've tried to meet him on a number of occasions, and then he's been injured, and then a game was cancelled that I was going to go and watch, and he wasn't involved, and so he's played. He scored last week. He played out the game last night. I'm waiting for him now. Tell me where and when. If you want to play, I'll come and meet and let's arrange it. That's my message now.
Yeah, because a lot of Irish supporters might think, well, these guys didn't declare in the last 5 to 10 years, and now Ireland seems like just a fallback for them. Can you understand why supporters maybe would feel a bit uneasy about seeing players like that in the squad?
Yes, I can, but then I can go back to 1984 when players like me were coming over and playing with a Yorkshire accent, except with an Irish dad, and every right to be playing. And there was a fair bit of resentment then, and then I remember qualifying for 88 and 90, and there was no resentment at all, and only just celebration. So I think we've got to get back to that. Let me tell you, I want players to play for Ireland who want to play. And I don't want blow-ins. I don't want people who just, might want to play for somebody else. They've got to show me that desire that they want to play, because ultimately they're not playing for me, they're playing for Ireland. I'll be gone at some stage and they may be playing for longer. But what I would say is about the players that joined in 84 and the lads that I played with, and lots of us who were born in England, they were all very passionate about playing for Ireland and still are, and still coming over here, and we had a huge success. It would be nice to get back to that success.
Yeah. Is he getting hammered the same way that the Declan Rice situation caused such uproar?
What do you mean? Mick McCarthy getting hammered or Patrick?
Yeah, so he's chasing these guys, right? And they don't. They're like, What did Kev say?
What did Kev say about it?
Yeah, about the situation. Yeah.
Well, I think if you put that situation in the context of the Declan Rice area, I don't know. I think the Declan Rice thing is vastly different.
Is it? Right?
Because of the actual footballing context.
Because, so they don't really want to play for us, and they're getting the opportunity to play for us. And the problem with Declan Rice was that he took 3 caps from an Irishman, or whatever the line was, 4 caps. But these guys are going to be 10 caps and then they'll get in the team and they'll play, and we'll be like, we've just decided now we're playing the game the way we always did, and we're forgetting about Declan Rice, and we're going to play the game, and if we get our hearts broken again, shame on us. Is that it?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's an element of truth in what Mick McCarthy said there about resentment lessening after 88, 90, 94. There has to be some sort of truth in that, doesn't there? Now, the thing is, the key difference about this is that on a footballing level, Patrick Bamford and Declan Rice are probably in 2 different planets altogether. especially when you look at the potential that Declan Rice has. And also when you look at the differences of Declan Rice as an underage superstar in an Ireland jersey, kissing the Ireland badge, calling the Irish national anthem catchy. There is a vast array of differences there in the two situations.
He let us on.
He let us on completely. And he was allowing himself to lead us on to the point where, you know, he could have come off the bench against Moldova, but let's not bring that back up again.
Tribe hurlers add Donaghy personality to the coaching team. So this is news this morning that Micheál Donoghue has added Kieran Donaghy to his backroom team. So far, because of his basketball commitments, Donaghy's input has been minimal, limited to 2 visits to Galway, but Donoghue has plans to use him a little more as the season progresses. I've been in contact with him for a good while. It's something he will ultimately get into himself. I brought in different people at different times from outside the box, and when I was thinking about it, I thought of him. I'd met him a few times. He's somebody that commands massive respect and is recognised for what he's achieved, and his character and personality is something that can be grasped on straight away. So we obviously did this week's Shot Clock yesterday before we knew this news, but we did talk to him about the situation with the Cork Hurlers, where Dougie Howlett is part of the backroom team, and we'll play that for you in our Shot Clock in just a couple of minutes' time. So is that my papers for you? Racing Post. Beckett and dramatic call for a 3-day ARC boycott. A boycott of arena racing companies' meetings across 3 days next week is being planned as the row of prize money levels at the racecourse group escalated yesterday. So this was a bunch of trainers who didn't run their horses at Lingfield last week. So they're calling for that to continue. Penhill ruled out a repeat bid for Stayers Hurdle, so horses are starting to make the cut or not for Cheltenham, because we're getting there really close. And I'll give you quickly the Irish news this morning. So McCann, positivity will pay. Tyrone's happy with momentum gained ahead of Cavan Clash. He says that they're about to unleash attacking hell on their opponents. It's been coming. They need to get it out there pretty quick. And then there's obviously Neil Lennon on the back of that last night, a 93rd minute winner for Celtic in a 2-1 win at Hearts. Or maybe it was Parkhead, actually. Of course it was Parkhead. McCarthy was curt with Rice. I mean, that was after he was being told, and he said, yeah, I sent him a text later on. And a high five for rampant Liverpool. Liverpool 5-0 winners against Watford last night. I did wonder, were we stupid thinking that Watford were going to give them a game? Because Watford recently got to the 40 points mark. Wolves recently got to the 40 points mark and promptly lost their next game. It's like there must be the mother of all parties when any of those teams reaches the 40 points mark, and you're like, well, we're going to take a couple of weeks off now, boss. 40 points, that's what you said at the start of the season. Bonuses kick in.
On the beach.
We're getting... We're having a good time.
That year when Tony Pulis's, was it his West Brom side, that reached the 40-point mark at the start of February. Like, that must have been the longest beach session of all time, a long 3 months. The back page of the Herald this morning is high five Reds. Hornets thrashing keeps Liverpool point clear and lifts goal difference. And you've also got Neil Lennon there as Celtic beat Hearts 2-1 last night. Vindicated reads the back of the Irish Daily Mail this morning. Sarri dumps Kepa, then Willie repels Tottenham, is the headline there. And Fitzgerald to leave Reds after 20 years, says Hugh Farrelly. So after nearly 2 decades in the job, Gareth Fitzgerald is believed to be moving on from his role as Munster CEO and will carry the legacy of overseeing the province's highly successful transition from amateur to professional rugby. So Munster's head of finance, Philip Quinn, who has served as acting chief executive while Fitzgerald recuperated from surgery, is understood to be a front-runner to take over full-time when the position becomes available, and it will become available later this year. I will go through some of the tabloids. The UK ones are going to appear on screen. At the back page of The Sun is Kepa, Cam and Sarri on. Keeper axed as Chelsea boss sends message. Gamble pays off with Pedro leading the charge, while the Star goes with the heel deal. At Sadio Mane's goal last night, Ben Foster completely perplexed as that ball hopped over him. And pick up the phone if you want to play as well on the Irish version of the Star there, says Mick McCarthy.
Yeah, that's the English Star that we've got there.
The Mirror there is one heel of a goal.
A different newspaper.
Stunning Mane finish silences critics who questioned Red's title race bottle. While the Daily Telegraph then this morning goes with red hot Van Dijk. Captain scores twice as Liverpool run riot to maintain 1 point lead at the top of the Premier League. And they go with Chelsea on the back of the Guardian. It's Pedro and Eden Hazard there. No Kepa, no problem.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't talk about this yet. Spursy. Very Spursy.
Spurs are closer to 6th place now than they are to 2nd place.
Wouldn't it be 3 weeks?
Like, I just want to say that sound you're hearing right now is my heart breaking at the possible parachuting of Spurs right down the table to the point where like to a potential 5th place. I would be really, really disappointed for everybody involved at Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. Not a single shot on target last night for the first time in a long, long time. Harry Kane starting to perhaps lose the rag a little bit. Is it surprising that, you know, that comes 12 hours after we saw in the newspapers yesterday morning their manager slaughtering them really in the press, saying it'll be 5 to 10 years with this attitude to win a Premier League, and really it would be a marvellous bottle job for them to fall out of the top 4 at this point.
Is it because Pochettino was linked with the job? Is that the thing that they're like, well, screw it, you're leaving, you get to treble your wages to go to Man United, I want to go to Man United? Is that what happens?
Potentially. Like, it turns, like, as I said there, like, it turns the rest of the season into a fascinating spectacle. Like, this Saturday, the North London Derby suddenly has a lot more weight in it. Arsenal win, and it's a 1-point gap between them, despite the fact that the narrative all season has been, is Unai Emery just, you know, a Severus Snape-looking Arsene Wenger, and Mauricio Pochettino is the greatest manager in the world. So it really would be hilarious. I'm just going to say it would be absolutely hilarious if Arsenal finished above Spurs.
We'll come back to football a little bit later on with Nathan. Now, though, we are bringing you episode 3 of the Shot Clock with Ger